Hey everyone, PushingUpRoses here. You know what I love? No, besides pizza and Dave Grohl, I love a good FMV game, and I use the word good very loosely here. The 90s were laden with that exciting new technology, full motion video. Gamers would finally get to see live actors and actresses playing characters in games. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, FMV games never seemed to break free from their cheesy natures. All too often, the acting was awful, even when it wasn't meant to be, and usually the characters were placed against these oddly rendered backgrounds which just ended up looking rather jarring. However, FMV games did prove that camp has a place in the industry, and many of them attained cult status. Some titles featured famous actors and actresses, but for the most part, FMV games comprised of lesser-known performers. We're all familiar with people like Christopher Walken, who performed in the 1996 adventure game Ripper.
This guy is unfucking believable.
But what about those people we don't quite remember, people we don't see in the media anymore? Whatever happened to them? Well, let me tell you. Harvester is one of the most unique, albeit absurd, FMV games I've ever played. It is the subject of much discussion, and people are still discovering its perfectly unorthodox nature today. You play as Steve Mason, who wakes up in a really strange town that he isn't familiar with, and assumes he has amnesia.
No, you don't understand. I can't remember where I am or even who I am.
That's right, Steve, fashionista extraordinaire. The actor who plays Steve is Kurt Kistler. However, you may not have realized that this is not Kurt Kistler's voice.
Well, you always were such a kidder, Steve.
Steve's voice was provided by Ryan Wickerham, who had a much more substantial career in acting and movie writing than Kistler did. Granted, I'm not too familiar with a lot of these works, but it's still an impressive resume. Kurt Kistler, the actor who physically portrayed Steve, didn't do much acting after Harvester. In 2009, Kistler acted in a short called Chat, and had a few other small roles between then and 2014. After Harvester, Kistler started working as a professional graphic designer, and in 2005 started a company called K2, which provides creative services like art and design and musical scores. In 2010, Kistler was arrested for possession of child pornography. I have no idea what the specific details of this conviction are, but it was quite a shock to find. Kind of terrible, actually.
This is horrible.
Even weirder is the fact that Kistler is wearing the same plaid shirt that he wears in Harvester in his mugshot. What the fuck? Well, I don't think I have any more to say about that, so let's just move on. Remember Night Trap? Night Trap is a game. Sort of. It's more like an experience. Surely you remember Night Trap, and if you aren't familiar, it's definitely worth looking at. This title, along with Doom and Mortal Kombat, were the subject of much controversy when they were under scrutiny during the congressional hearings on video game violence. Now, let me say this. Doom and Mortal Kombat. Yes, those are fairly violent games. I do think they warrant a rating, so I am perfectly cool with the ESRB having resulted from these hearings, but Night Trap, personally, I thought bringing that to the table was a complete waste of time and money. Night Trap is ham. It is cheesiness personified. One of these things is not like the others, and it's Night Trap. So the title now has a place in video game history, but whatever happened to the performers? This is Dana Plato, the protagonist. Plato actually had several acting credits before Night Trap, as she began acting at age 11. Her most notable role was Kimberly Drummond on the show Different Strokes from 1978 to 1984. She had a very hard time getting roles after that show had ended. Her career mostly consisted of made-for-TV movies and small television show roles. In 1991, Plato was arrested for robbing a Las Vegas video store, and the following year, 1992, the year she acted in Night Trap, she was arrested for forging a prescription for Valium. Very sadly, Plato never conquered her depression and could not get past her flatlined career. In 1999, she had an interview with Howard Stern, hoping to revive her career, but soon after that, she was found dead at age 34, having overdosed on painkillers. Her death was ruled as a suicide. Despite Night Trap having a rather odd legacy and being one of those overly cheesy, poorly acted FMV titles, I look at it a bit differently, knowing the actress of the lead character had such a tragic end. Phantasmagoria 2. I bet you're wondering which actor I'll be talking about from this 1996 video game gem. Perhaps you're wondering what happened to Curtis, the nerdy, yet nerdy, lead character. Nah, who cares? Let's talk about Monique Parent, who played Jocelyn, Curtis's somewhat clingy girlfriend.
Don't I know it?
Monique Parent before, during, and after Phantasmagoria 2 was and is a softcore porn actress. Her IMDb page says, and I quote, "Monique Parent is an American actress known for smoldering love scenes and intensely charismatic characters. She has been called the thinking man's sex symbol," end quote. Not too surprising, honestly. Monique does have a rather steamy scene in Phantasmagoria 2 that I am in no way going to show you, by the way, ha! But she was pretty convincing. So I'm scrolling through her IMDb page, relatively impressed by the amount of credits, only to realize I've seen one of these movies. It's true, I've seen The Witches of Breastwick. I think it was either on HBO or Cinemax, or as we like to call it, Skinemax one night, and hey, I'm a girl with needs, I'm a girl with desires, and Monique Parent is pretty good in her field, and it was on, and I didn't necessarily switch the channel. What can you do? Paul Morgan Stetler played the painfully average character Curtis Craig. Unlike many of these other actors and actresses, Stetler's career really took off after his role in Phantasmagoria 2. Since then, Stetler appeared in a few well-known television series, as well as the movie Pleasantville. He's also an extremely prominent figure in the theater community. He is the co-founder of the New Century Theater Company in Seattle, where he continues to direct and act in stage plays. Go Curtis!
Big purple bags under the eyes. Very attractive.
And last but not least, let's talk about Dean Erickson, who portrayed Gabriel Knight in The Beast Within. Tim Curry had previously voiced this character in Gabriel Knight's Sins of the Father, but Erickson was chosen for this one, and I can see why. He's pretty dishy.
He had a certain naive charm.
As much flack as FMV games get for their inclusion of riff-worthy acting, I can honestly say that Erickson's performance is one of the better performances I've seen. He's charming and plays the role of Gabriel pretty well. However, Erickson did not go on to do any prominent acting after The Beast Within. In fact, this game is really his biggest acting gig. Before that, he had a few cameos in the television show Frasier, and before that, he was on a TV series called Bad Influence, and that's it. So what has he been up to since being Gabriel Knight? Welp, let's take a look. After Gabriel Knight, he wrote a few books. One mystery novel called No One Laughs at a Dead Clown, a self-help book called Choose Your Story, Choose Your Life, and a somewhat newer book called Act, Adapt, Achieve, which is a how to be successful in life type of a book. Apparently, he was also a very talented athlete, point guard to be specific. In 2010, he was elected to the Mid-Coast Maine Sports Hall of Fame. I had no idea. He is the founder and CEO of a wealth management company named Bionic Capital LLC and has been extremely successful. He's basically a rich person who helps other rich people, an author, an allegedly amazing basketball player, and has established himself in the video game community as Gabriel Knight in what I would call one of the better FMV games of its time. In fact, the game had won an award for Game of the Year in 1995 given by Computer Gaming World magazine. Not bad, Dean Erickson, not bad. And also, I just want to point this out real quick. One of the Frasier episodes he acted in was entitled Space Quest. Does anybody else find that weird? You know, because Space Quest by Sierra, and then he goes on to play Gabriel Knight in a Sierra game? I think it's weird. By the way, I did think about adding a section for Victoria Morsell and David Homb, the actors who portrayed Adrian and Don from the original Phantasmagoria, but after looking them up, I found them to be a little boring. Yeah, Victoria had some small roles, but meh. The most interesting thing I found out about them was that they had dated for a short span while they were filming for the game. So let me get this straight. After Don gets possessed and tries to brutally murder Adrian in the story, they decided to start dating. Maybe Victoria was wooed by the musical sound of David's laughter. That concludes this Where Are They Now type of a video on FMV actors and actresses. I hope you found it interesting, and perhaps it even piqued your curiosity enough to seek out other FMV games and their performers. There are plenty of other FMV stars to take a look at, so hopefully in the future there will be another Whatever Happened To episode. Hey everyone, thanks for watching my video about the personal lives of FMV game actors and actresses. If you want to see a review on one of the games I discussed up above, I have a link to my Harvester video on the annotation screen. Otherwise, you can pester me on places like Facebook, Twitter, or you can throw money at me and I can make it rain on Patreon. Your choice. Thanks again, and see you guys in the next one.